Hi everyone, I'm Sean and you guessed it, we're back with the 101. So sometimes in cybersecurity we find ourselves using terms that are very general but very necessary. We use these terms correctly, but once we get past the high-level definition, we tend to find ourselves in murkier water, and that just puts us at a disadvantage. And today we're going to take on one of these terms in the first of a two-part discussion, one of the terms that we think about more than any other. Today we ask, what makes up a cyber attack? Okay, I know, this is going to be a headier discussion than many we've had in the past. Much like asking what is malware, this type of question can quickly veer into the world of too general to cover. But that's precisely why we're taking this question in two steps. Today, we're going to talk about why this matters. And next time, we'll dig into the individual components themselves. Okay, let's see that definition. A cyber attack is made up of 5 essential components: the party performing the attack, the party that is victim to the attack, the specific target of the attack, which generally comprises a digital system and the data that resides within, the method of attack, and the motivation of the attacking party. So to some of you, this may seem like basic stuff, and maybe to some of you, it is. Too often, we take for granted this structural terminology that we use to describe our everyday experiences. And that's a problem, because it puts us at a disadvantage when it comes to working together to make any type of meaningful change. In the case of cyber attacks, when we look at them by their essential components, it gives us smaller pieces to wrap our heads around, a more analytical approach to looking at the entire attack. And this is really important because some components are very obvious to us, while others are very difficult to decipher. Which is to say that this approach to cyber attack analysis is really about understanding intent, the motivation behind the attack, which can be one of the most difficult things to understand, yet one of the most pivotal, as we'll talk about soon. This is especially important for sophisticated attacks that work very hard at masking their intent, or making it look like one thing is happening when really something else is happening entirely. Okay, let's look at a recent example to really hammer this point home. This is the story of Pecha, and not Petia. So Pecha is a family of ransomware that first reared its head in March of 2016. Though its infection rates were low, it did bring a novel approach to its malicious namesake. It went after the machine rather than the data. Devious, I know. Okay, fast forward to June of 2017. Pecha rears its ugly head again, this time fueled by the same deployment methods that WannaCry used just a couple months prior. In fact, because of this and other technical differences, it quickly coined a new name: not Pecha. But here's why we have to look at this cyber attack through its 5 essential components. Otherwise, we miss the most important aspect of this story hidden within. Why, you ask? Well, because shortly after NotPetya started to make headlines, it became apparent that it wasn't exactly what it appeared to be. Let's start with one of the more obvious components of the cyber attack: the method. For one thing, the encryption method used by NotPetya was very harsh, going after both the master boot record and the data itself. In fact, it was so harsh that it often damaged data and systems beyond repair. Also, though the ransom window popped up as expected, the identifier that was provided was randomly generated, making it impossible to use in any type of monetary key exchange. So what's going on here? Well, NotPetya looks and acts like ransomware, but it isn't. So then if we shine a light on the victims, we'll find that the Ukraine was overwhelmingly hit and arguably hurt the most with this particular attack. And the target of the attack, vulnerable Windows machines, made sure that this worm was able to spread very quickly, doing lots of damage in a very small amount of time. So if we take a step back, by analyzing the victims, the targets, and the methodology, we start to get clues about who's really behind this attack, and what was the purpose of the attack at all. Now, the 101 is not in the business of attributing blame. We'll provide some links at the end of this episode so that you can analyze the attack yourself. But it is important to note that without a framework to classify the individual components of an attack, this one might have been chalked up to a ransomware outbreak led by amateurs who just couldn't get their code right. And that's not a good thing, because in that scenario, at best, the attacker gets away with whatever they were trying to do, while we're left putting resources to a threat that's not actually there. And at worst, it comes back stronger and more effective than ever before, while all of us are left to fend for ourselves alone. And that's all the time we have for today. Join us next episode as we continue this discussion, diving deeper into the individual components. Of course, if you have questions, we want to hear about them. You can always reach us on Twitter at carbonblack_inc, and make sure to use the hashtag #the101, or just email us at the101@carbonblack.com. My name's Sean, thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week.